Let's talk about the former first-round pick who was traded for a third-round pick and I thought had a lot of key plays in this Chiefs Super Bowl run. It was kind of a joke when he got traded of, oh, okay, of course, he's going to turn into an all-pro in Kansas City. That didn't quite happen, but he still had, I thought, a lot of important plays. And let's talk about kind of what he was able to do well throughout this entire postseason run. So we're starting off with a play against Jacksonville, and you see how the play's supposed to work, where it's going to be a running play. Because again, Toney plays in three different facets of the game. He is not just a wide receiver. He also will take handoffs, and he returns punts. He does three different things. You see the way this blocking concept works. You have a receiver who's going to run a route. That'll take away a defensive back, and then you're going to block everyone except for one player for Jacksonville. But what's interesting is where that player is lined up. That guy is unblocked, which is definitely important because, again, hopefully he looks at Mahomes a little bit, maybe doesn't quite get to Toney quick enough, and Toney is able to, run and pick up the first down. And as you see, it's going to work. I mean, for the most part, this is how you design this play to work. Toney can lower the shoulder and just get the first down. That's what you're trying to do here, and then work on getting a touchdown after that point. That's the idea behind this play. But that doesn't mean that that's all you can do. That's what you hope happens, but there is always the ability for something greater to happen, and that's what Toney is going to do here. Where one thing worth noting is, so you have a tight end on this play who is blocking. This is Travis Kelce, who, contrary to popular belief, is a good blocker. More, obviously he's not Rob Gronkowski in the blocking department, but he can still block well. And he actually shifted his block from one Jacksonville player to another. But watch how Toney basically just runs over the defensive back who was unblocked, and he was nearly into the end zone for a touchdown. I mean, that was very close. Got stopped short at the 1 yard line, but that's just his power. And one of the things that's always been people didn't pay enough attention to, I thought, when it comes to Toney is, well, he's so shifty and you're so focused on bringing him down that way. He's also very tough and very physical. And again, the issue of Toney has never been his play. It's always just been he doesn't stay on the field. He can't stay healthy, but he's always been an effective player, and you saw it on this play. Part of how they used him, especially in that Jacksonville game, was something like this, where it's going to be they're going to flip it to Toney. That's all they're trying to do right here. Just a quick wide receiver screen. You have a receiver block. There's, not a ton of yards for Toney to get, and he's not going to get a ton of yards, but he's going to get what he can. Watch how this play begins, and the ball gets into Toney's hands. At this point, how many yards are we expecting him to get? I don't know, maybe to what seems about reasonable. Probably not quite to the 30, maybe a little bit underneath the 30, maybe a 28-yard line. That feels like what we should expect, what an average wide receiver would get on this play. However, as you see, Toney is going to make a move, and he's able to get a few more yards. He didn't get a ton. What's that? Maybe at most 5 extra yards than what you would expect a receiver to get. But you know what? Those things add up. And again, this is already after they had picked up a first down on 2nd down and 3. But he were able to get a little bit more. Those little plays definitely added up in a Super Bowl run that featured 3 very competitive games. Also, just little things, something like this is definitely an important play, where this was in the Cincinnati game, which, if you remember, he got banged up in this game. It might have even been on this play that he got injured on. He ended up missing the rest of the game, but he still had a couple of impactful plays. He nearly had a touchdown that was called back, but he had this one as well, where you see where he is on the field. Again, simple play. Get underneath your, the coverage. You have a receiver, you have Kelce actually, who's pushing the defense further deep, then you flip it to Toney underneath. Very simple. You can understand why Kansas City would want to do this. Watch how when Mahomes takes the snap right here, Toney is open, but how many yards are you expecting to get? Maybe 0. There's a legitimate chance that if there's a quick tackle, that the ball just will pop out because of it, because, there's someone who's reading this play well. This is not something you expect Toney to get a ton of yards from. However, Mahomes throws it a bit to the outside and allows Toney to be able to make a move, and again, if he doesn't slip there, I think there's a chance he gets more than just the yards he got. They only gave him 9, which is weird. It feels like he clearly got the first down there, but okay, they gave him 9 yards. Still a good play from Toney, and could have been even greater, I think. So again, are these the biggest highlight reel plays? No, but they're making impact, and more than anything, kind of let Andy Reid know, I think, okay, I can trust him with some of these plays. So that's when this one would happen, which up until this point is the biggest play of his career. Obviously, it's a touchdown in the Super Bowl in a game they won by 3. Yeah, that's a pretty important play. And this also kind of, I mean, this gave them the lead in the Super Bowl as well. They were down 6 points at this point, and definitely, I think, shifted the tone of it went from it's all Philadelphia to, oh, wow, Kansas City really is going to pull this off, even though Philadelphia eventually came storming back. That's how it felt when this happened, where it's going to be Darius Slay one-on-one against Kadarius Toney. Big-time matchup that you don't expect Toney to win. Darius Slay is very good, and listen, I've broken down this play before. It's a fun play to break down, but it's still, I think, an interesting one to talk about, because watch what happens. Toney is going to start off in motion, and you see Slay, he's calling for a switch. He's saying, hey, Toney's about to be in motion to the other side of the field. We can't really cover this if I try to run all the way to the other side of the field. That's so difficult, especially with Toney's speed. We got to get a switch. That's what Philadelphia is trying to do here. But the issue, of course, is you have to make sure that they are, in fact, motioning and not just sort of doing this half motion thing. Because then when Toney goes back to the outside, Slay is just not there. Toney literally walks into the end zone for a touchdown. Just great stuff from Toney. Kind of one of the things I talked about when I made this video right after it happened on Super Bowl Sunday. Kind of the thing is, as good of a play call as this is, it certainly helps the play call when you have a player who can seemingly be running full speed in one direction and then running full speed in the other direction without slowing down at any point. Yeah, that makes this a lot easier, as Toney's, again, his shiftiness, it's a perfect play for him, and it's a perfect play call by Andy Reid. And of course, I got to talk about this punt return. This punt return was kind of the play of the day a little bit, that I feel like has gone underlooked a little bit because it didn't end in a touchdown, but it came very close to ending in a touchdown and certainly was a big impact play. There was a lot of decision making as to whether or not the Eagles should have punted here. I don't think they should have, but let's talk about the play itself. So there's going to be a bad punt here, but the reason why this punt is tough is because of the gunner I've circled. He's the one who's going to have the biggest impact due to the bad punt. He's the one where the bad punt affects the most. Like, watch how you're going to see him do a pretty good job, I think, of trying to get down the field, realizes where the punt is, though, and now has to scramble to try to get back in that area to the point where containment is not really an option right here because of the bad punt. If it was a normal punt, he would be in position to where he can at least help contain Toney. In fact, everyone, I circled him out. There's other guys who are supposed to help contain Toney on this play, but they're all moving further towards the top of the screen because of that. They're all moving there because of the bad punt. They feel like they have to get there quickly. The issue is that, typically this is actually a pretty good situation for Philadelphia. You have like 9 guys right around Toney, and all of the Kansas City blockers are on the other side of the field. You'd think that's pretty good, but there's the obvious issue where if Toney can get out of this situation somehow, well, then there could be plenty of room for him to run on the bottom half of the screen, but of course he has to somehow get out of the situation. But watch this move he pulls off. There's some contact, but he gets out of it, and this is now really where he can thrive. Although, still, if he steps out of bounds here, let's say he gets knocked out here, okay, well, you're clearly in field goal range. You feel pretty good about that, but you want more than just a field goal. You want a touchdown, and I think that just running forward is a decision not every punt returner would make here. I think some would try to make more happen, maybe cut back towards the middle of the field. Toney is going to basically simply say, I'm just going to be at the sideline and run forward as much as I can and trust my blockers, and his blockers are going to reward him. Because look at the way Kansas City blocks on that sideline to where Toney is able to legitimately run until he gets inside the 10. And again, maybe if you pick out the exact perfect spot where he cuts back, maybe there's a chance he could have gotten more, but I don't know. I think this was about as good as you were going to get from Toney. Really good really good punt return. And just again, he was a very impactful player. He was not their star player, but he made an impact, and that's why they went out and traded for him, is because they felt like he could make an impact. At least that's what I think. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you, and of course, as always, thanks for watching.